Welcome back to Network Africa. Now we're looking to look at some scandals going on in sports. I use that term sparingly. But Werder Bremen defender Papi Djilobodji has been handed a 3-game ban for making a throat slit gesture during a Bundesliga game last Saturday. Chelsea loanee Djilobodji made the gesture towards Mainz winger Pablo de Blasis during the 1-1 draw. The referee did not see the incident, and the Bremen coach Victor Skripnik and the sporting director also played the incident down. But the former St. Pauli forward Dennis Naki was also banned for 3 games for making a similar gesture to Hansa Rostock fans back in November of 2009. So this is something that's not new to the sports world. Well, joining us to tell us more about this move that's been made is our wonderful sports correspondent, Yemi Adebayo. Yemi, see how much we love you on Network Africa. Thank you.
Yeah, but first things first, his 3-game ban has been reduced to 2. So
oh, really?
Djilobodji gets to, doesn't really escape. It's still going to be 3 because he picked his 5th yellow card in that game. If you have 5 yellow cards, it means automatic 1-match suspension.
This must have just happened. What prompted that?
Well, you know, in the chat that we had, the club, you know, protested against it and said the punishment didn't fit the crime. But the standard punishment for this is a 3-game ban. But the argument in this case was Dennis Naki that you mentioned, who played for St. Pauli, in the game that involved his own team,
in 2009.
Hansa Rostock. The gesture was to the fans. In this case, for Djilobodji, it was just him and the opposing Mainz player. So they were able to argue that, and of course, you know, it got reduced. And in their own case, Djilobodji is a very important player, and Werder Bremen they're fighting against relegation, and everything just played into their hands, and it got reduced. But in the real sense, it's still going to be 3.
In the real sense, so it's just technically,
technically, you know, in the real sense, because he picked up his 5th yellow card, and the guys from DFB, that's the ruling body in Germany, had already said he's going to have 3 after that automatic suspension takes place. But now, instead of going for the 3 matches, it's going to get 2. And the automatic still makes it 3, but you know, somehow it's still.
What about the fans of Djilobodji? What are they saying about this? What kind of reactions are we seeing?
Well, it's an unsportsmanlike conduct, and you know, even people that are supportive of you will still not like that. There are a lot of solidarities from Senegal. A lot of people like him. He's on the books of Chelsea, and you know, back in this place, a lot of Chelsea fans. They like the player, but that conduct was unsportsmanlike.
Yes.
But it was something that just came out of the blue. He's not known. He's not a temperamental player.
Yeah.
He's not known for such kind of behavior.
But has he said anything to defend the gesture he made?
Well, nothing really, apart from what the club, you know, like you said, the club tried to play the significance of, it was just in the heat of the moment. And, you know, the ref didn't see it. For you to know that, he probably tried to scare.
Yes.
He was having a hard time. The player was, you know, he's a defender, and the player was giving him a rough time. And, you know, he wanted some leverage. And he thought, maybe let me just threaten this guy.
Okay.
And the ref didn't see it, but, you know, it got caught on camera. A lot of people saw it. And, you know, so that punishment had to be.
But is this going to affect him in the long run, or is it just helping to build his publicity?
I don't know about publicity. Defenders do this. That you know, it's an unwritten rule. If someone is good, you try to find some leverage. And, you know, a lot of important players do it. They kick you, they grab your shirts, they drag you down. And
they don't get banned for the next 3
games.
You
do. That's the point. Your team will love you. Your opponents wouldn't.
Yeah.
So you're going to divide opinion. That's what usually happen. If I was a fan of Chelsea, either Chelsea or Werder Bremen, I would love the player because he did his best to ensure that we won or we didn't lose the game. So in such circumstances, you say those he's doing it for will love him, but those who feel the brunt of his actions will definitely not like him.
So what message is being sent to players who might try similar gestures, or might be thinking about it in the future, knowing what's happened to Djilobodji?
It's not acceptable. That's the message. You see, football, the selling point of football is a game that unites. I jokingly told you about Nigeria. When we're playing football, nobody remembers where they're from. Nobody remembers, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim. He has that power.
Yes.
I told you about France 98 when diplomacy and foreign policy couldn't bring Iran and the United States together, but football did. That's how strong. The Germans had a unified team in 1990. They won the World Cup. Spain, nobody remembers. I'm from this Basque region. I'm from that. And so what the authorities in football try to do is, we are not for or against anybody. It is in the interest of the game that we promote unity. So anything that could have a negative connotation,
yes,
they just don't want to say it. Even, you know, like the guys from VEDA have tried to argue that it was unintentional, it didn't harm anybody. But as long as he has anything that looks like a negative connotation or sentiments, you know, all those kind of things, it gets stamped. I mean, I've seen players punished for less. I've seen players wave at their opponents, sarcastic smile and stuff, and you get into trouble. So I think you would have left.
I think this will lead to more polite sports. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, Yemi, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time as always. Our sports correspondent, Yemi Adebayo. Now, in other news, according to UNICEF, more than 86.7 million children under the age of 7 have spent their entire lives in conflict zones, putting their brain development at risk. Children living in conflict-hit areas are often exposed to extreme trauma, making it highly likely for them to also suffer from a state of toxic stress. That's a condition which inhibits brain cell connections with significant lifelong consequences to their cognitive, social, and physical development.
In a report released by UNICEF, more than 86.7 million children under the age of 7 have spent their entire lives in conflict zones, putting their brain development at risk. During the first 7 years of a child's life, the brain has potential to activate 1,000 brain cells every second. Each one of those cells, known as neurons, has the power to connect to another 10,000 neurons thousands of times per second. Brain connections serve as the building blocks of a child's future, defining their health, emotional well-being, and ability to learn. Children living in conflict are often exposed to extreme trauma, putting them at risk of living in a state of toxic stress, a condition that inhibits brain cell connections with significant lifelong consequences to their cognitive, social, and physical development. UNICEF figures show that globally, 1 in 11 children aged 6 or younger has spent the most critical period of brain development growing up in conflict. As part of our response in humanitarian emergencies and protracted crisis, UNICEF works to keep children in child-friendly environments, providing emergency kits with learning and play materials. The emergency kits have supported more than 800,000 children living in emergency context in the past year alone.
Still to come on Network Africa, the people of South Sudan find laughter in the midst of the conflict.